People are always talking about top quarterbacks. Who's the best quarterback? Who's not? Who's trash? Who's good? They always got these lists: top 10, top 5. Some days it's Lamar, some days it's Pat. Definitely with the deal he just got done. And so today I thought I'd take my own little crack at it and name my top 10 quarterbacks going into the 2020 NFL season. Let's get into it. At my number 10 spot, I have Carson Wentz, as I like to call him. Carson Wentz gets the number 10 spot only because of the fact that I think he's a top 5 talent if he's healthy. But the problem is that Carson's never healthy. He just doesn't know how to stay on the field for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's brittle bones. I don't know. But he's still a top 10 quarterback, though, at the end of the day. Arm talent is there. Great thrower of the football. Strong dude. Very talented. I didn't think he was going to be a great quarterback coming out of North Dakota State, because I was thinking to myself, North Dakota State, how is that going to translate straight to the NFL? But he has done it at a high level. Last season, everybody know that he had trash at the wide receiver position. Now, he did have a really good young running back. He really did have a good running back core, and he had two of the best young tight ends in the league last year. So he did have some help, but from the receiver position, he really didn't have no help dealing with injuries to Deshaun Jackson, to Alshon Jeffrey, and having to deal with Nelson Aguilar's hands the whole season, which were atrocious. Even though he had to deal with all that, he still won his division, putting up a 9-7 record. He still had a completion percentage of 63.9. He still had 24 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions, and he had 4,000 yards. So a pretty impressive season for Carson Wentz. He comes in at number 10 because I think he's a really good quarterback, but he has to stay healthy. And when he is healthy, I think he can be a top 5 quarterback in this league. At number 9, I know I'm going to shock a lot of people with this one, I guess. Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady is a great quarterback, greatest quarterback of all time in my opinion. But at the end of the day, we're talking about heading into the season. And Tom Brady did have a really good season last year. Besides, him not really being his best self, which a lot of people saw. He still had a 4,000-yard season, which is still impressive. He still had 24 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He went 12-4, even though everybody knows that schedule was weak. And every time they played a really good team, they did not play well. And he had a completion percentage of 60.8, and he lost in the playoffs, but he made the playoffs. The biggest thing with Tom Brady is this: he's a little bit older. His arm isn't what it used to be. He's still accurate, but he's not of a arm power guy like he used to. He's not as good of a deep thrower as he used to be. He's a game manager. He's a very smart game manager. If there's any game manager in this world, it's Tom Brady. I think he's the best game manager in his league. But he's just not a top 5 quarterback no more. It's just not there for him. And I know he didn't have no help last year. And I know he won a Super Bowl the year before that. And I feel you on it. I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, he is old. And he did take a dip this year in his numbers and his, overall production. And he did not look good against Tennessee in that playoff game at all. He looked like a shell of himself. And for that reason, I have to put him at the 9 position. Number 8, I have Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is at number 8 just because of the fact that he's had a pretty good 2 last seasons with the Vikings. He's done really well with them. They got into the playoffs this year. They beat a really good New Orleans team. He outplayed Drew Brees, and he won a big playoff game and made clutch throws in those playoff games. And that's been a big thing against Kirk Cousins. That's probably why he's low on this list, because of the fact that he is 5-25 against winning teams. And he hasn't been great under the bright lights of the Sunday Night Football. But since coming to Minnesota, he's been better against not only winning teams, but he's been better in terms of just winning games. He had a good record last year, his first year with the Vikings, and he had an even better record, I believe, this year with the Vikings. So Kirk Cousins gets my 8th spot just because of the fact that he still did really good. He had 3,603 passing yards, had 26 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, had a 69.1 completion percentage, and went 10-5 in the playoffs with a W. So he gets the 8th spot. At the number 7 spot, I have Dak Prescott. Now, I know some people that are delusional think that Dak Prescott does not deserve to be on this list. They probably think he isn't a good quarterback. They probably think he's a average quarterback on a great team. I disagree with that, and I think his last 2 seasons have proved so. Yes, he went 8-8 this season, but he has spent the last 4 years under one of the most average coaches in the NFL, in Jason Garrett, aka Coach Clapp, who doesn't really know how to get the best out of their players and hasn't really been the best coach for this team. Yet he still has an overall record of 40-24 and is one of the most winningest quarterbacks since he has came in the league, probably besides Mr. Tom Brady himself. Last year, only going 8-8, he still put up great numbers. 4,902 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, with a 65 completion percentage. So a really good year from Dak Prescott. He's a young quarterback. He's going to be playing with a really good Mike McCarthy as a coach who's played with great quarterbacks. He's mobile. He's clutch. Some of the most game-winning drives as a quarterback. He's decent against winning teams. He's not trash against winning teams like a Kirk Cousins is. He plays well under the big lights. I just feel like the one knock on Dak Prescott is I don't think he makes your team. He doesn't take a team over the hump that doesn't deserve to be there. I don't think he's shown the ability to be able to be, more than a really, really good game manager. And I haven't seen him take that next step yet. But I definitely believe he has the talent. And throwing 4,900 passing yards shows that he's only improving as a quarterback. And I think that he has room to improve. And I think one day he will be in the top 5 of quarterbacks, especially with the offense that he has around him, if he's able to get some more playoff wins under his belt. He falls at number 7. At number 6, I have Drew Brees, veteran quarterback for the Saints. Now, like I was just saying, Drew Brees didn't really have a great year, as his last game, really, he didn't look like himself. He got outplayed by Kirk Cousins in the playoff game after having a really good regular season as the Saints quarterback. Now, Drew did, battle a hand injury or a thumb injury this year and came back. He still had an 8-3 record. He had a 74.5 completion percentage, had 2,979 yards, 2,979, 27 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. So it wasn't a bad year for Drew, but definitely wasn't one of his best. I think I still have to put Drew at the number 6 spot just because of the fact that he's been really good with the Saints. The Saints for the last 2-3 years have been a consistent high winning team. Not just like a 9-17. They've been up in the 11s, the 12s, and the 13s in terms of winning. And he's been a big reason and a part of that, as he has led this team and has still played at a very high level and at a Pro Bowl level. So he gets the number 6 spot. However, his spot can go way lower after this season, because this might be the last season we see Drew Brees, especially if the Saints don't win or if they make it far enough where he's satisfied. So who knows, man? But I definitely still have him at this 6th spot because he's still a great quarterback and he's still the leader of a really, really great team. At the number 5 spot, I have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, that bad man, as y'all all know. Last year for the Packers, he had 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 62 completion percentage, and a 13-3 record with a playoff W. A really good year for Aaron Rodgers. Some people say he should probably be higher on this list. And I'm not going to disagree with you, but at the same time, I'm not going to agree with you. Because of the simple fact that Aaron Rodgers, I'm talking about going into the season, Aaron Rodgers is a little bit of an older quarterback than these guys I have in front of him. I feel like he didn't play hero ball and carry a team like he usually does. He had a really good offense with Aaron Jones, who's a Pro Bowl back, in my opinion, even though I don't think he got selected, and Devontae Adams, who's a top 5 receiver in the football game right now. So he had a really good offense, and their defense was really good against the pass. So why is Aaron Rodgers low on this list for me at the 5 position? Just because of the fact that he had a good year, but he didn't have a crazy great year. You know what I mean? He had less yards than Carson Wentz and Tom Brady and Dak Prescott, for that matter. And on top of that, he had a really good team. And when they lost, he didn't play well. And when they lost in the biggest games, like that 49er game that we saw, he did not play well. And for me, that kind of put him down in my standings for him. But because he had such a good regular season, because he still had 4,000 yards, and because he still got to the NFC Championship game, I have him at the 5 position because he still had a great year. My only thing is he didn't look as great as he usually does. And on top of that, he didn't look great in the playoffs at that spot where you needed to win to get to the Super Bowl. And for that reason, I have Aaron Rodgers at the 5 spot. One of my favorite players, if not my favorite player in the NFL today, Lamar Jackson, MVP Lamar, big trust Lamar Jackson. He had over 3,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, a 66.1 completion percentage, 13-2 record of all games he played. Yes, he had a playoff L though. Now with Lamar Jackson, only reason why he's 4 on this list is because his playoff woes. In the playoffs, his rookie year versus the Chargers, he looked terrible. And against Tennessee, he looked terrible. He looked frustrated. He looked collapsed. They figured him out. They had him in a box, and I think he needs to overcome that. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson be the James Harden of the NFL, where you're great in the regular season, you put up all these numbers, you get MVPs, but you can't get it done when it matters in the playoffs. And so far, that is his reputation in this league. He is an excited player. He is an electric player, but he is a young player. He has a lot of room to grow as a quarterback because he's already a phenomenal runner. He could be a running back if he wanted to in this league and still be top. So for that reason, he's number 4. You know what I mean? I easily think that in a couple years, he will be number 1 on this list. And yes, I said number 1. Do not kill me in the comments. I think he can grow as a quarterback, but right now, because of his playoff woes and because he is not a completely dominant quarterback like the other guys on this list is, I have him at the number 4 spot. At the number 3 spot, I got my boy Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson to me is probably one of the second most talented quarterback in this league, honestly, from head to toe. Last season, he had 3,852 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a 67.3 completion percentage, a 10-5 record when he played, and a playoff W, but he did lose against Patrick Mahomes in the playoff divisional round. Now, with Deshaun Watson, I think that he has all the tools to be a top best quarterback in this league, honestly. You know what I mean? I feel like his situation just isn't the best. For as talented as he is, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, and for him to still be able to have an 11-5 record, and then the year before that have a 10-6 record, and have 2 straight years where he's a playoff team and 2 straight years where you're the best team in your division, really shows how good of a quarterback he is. Even in his rookie year where he got hurt, he was looking like the best quarterback in his division and one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. And I definitely believe he's a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the AFC right now. I feel like I'm confident in saying that I feel like if he played for the Kansas City Chiefs, that he'll have a Super Bowl under his belt. You know what I mean? That's how talented I think he is. I think he's right there in terms of Patrick Mahomes. Now, I do think Patrick Mahomes is a little bit better than him, but at the same time, I think Deshaun Watson got the big play ability. I think he has the star power. I think he has the talent. I think he has the arm. You know what I mean? He has the leadership, and he got that, he got a thing about him that just, makes him great. And I feel like for me, that's why I got to put him 3rd on this list, because I feel like talent-wise, he's probably high on this list. And he's been a winner for his past couple of years with not as great of a supporting cast as everybody else has had, and you just can't deny that. So he ends up at 3rd. At the number 2 spot, I got Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson is probably the 2nd best quarterback in football. I think a lot of people can agree on that. If you don't agree on that, I don't understand how you don't. I mean, the dude has been a winner ever since he came into this football league. You know what I mean? He's had a playoff team for the past, 3-4 years straight. You know what I mean? His O-line has been terrible, and he still put up top numbers. Even last year, he had 1,100 yards, and then he had 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 66% completion percentage with an 11-5 record and a playoff W. You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny Russell Wilson. He hasn't had a crazy good receiving core. He hasn't really had a crazy good defense since the Legion of Boom. He hasn't really had a crazy good offensive line like ever in his career, or a crazy good running back probably since that Legion of Boom where he had Marshawn Lynch in his younger years, I guess you can say. So you still have to look at how he's been so productive without so much greatness around him. Like, he's still been putting up top numbers every year. And this past year, he looked like the best. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks in this league. You know what I mean? Like, it was an argument that he deserved to have the MVP over Lamar Jackson just because of how good he was playing. Seattle was an 11-5 team when I feel like they did not have an 11-5 team established. I feel like they didn't have 11-5 talent to be that type of team, but because you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson who can make any of the throws you need to make, can move out of the pocket, can make the big plays when you need him to, and can be a leader and clutch on a daily basis, like, this team is always going to be straight with him at the helm as a quarterback. And you got to put him at 2 because I feel like he's been doing it for a minute. He's been doing it at a high level, and I think his consistency, his lack of help, his consistent winning, all that goes into effect when you talk about him as a top 2 quarterback in this league. And I got to put him at 2 right now because who else is better than him at that quarterback position that's under him, in my opinion. Nobody's putting up the numbers on a consistent basis. Nobody's winning as much as him on a consistent basis with the level of competition. Because even though a guy like Tom Brady has been to the playoffs year in, year out, he's played in a weak division and he's had weak schedules. So even then, I feel like he's played in a weaker conference. So I feel like with Russell Wilson, that even adds to his credibility even more, that he's still able to be good with the lack of talent that he has around him. So for that reason, he got to be 2 on my list. At my number 1 spot, I got Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? 50 touchdowns your first year as a starter. And then you was a quarter away from beating Brady and going to the Super Bowl. Are you serious? And then the next year, coming back from an injury, you go to the Super Bowl and win after you was down in every playoff game?
Well, what else I need to say?
The dude is different, bro. He's done more in his career already in 3 years than a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Done more than Hall of Fame quarterbacks have done in his career. Come on now, he's faced adversity. He's came back. It's no league that he can't come back from at this point. He's like A-Rod 2.0, because even though A-Rod is great, I think Patrick Mahomes just does it at a better level. I think he's more accurate. He's probably a better leader. He's more clutch. He's a better thrower of the football. He throws it deeper. I mean, come on, man. We just haven't seen this. He can run out of the pocket. He's physical as a runner. I mean, he can stay in the pocket and still go over 500. He has great options around him, but he makes his weapons greater. Nobody looked at Tyreek Hill like this until Pat came. Come on now. Travis Kelce is a great tight end, but nobody was thinking that he was the number 1 tight end in football until Patrick Mahomes came. So let's be real. Andy Reid been to multiple Super Bowls, but he ain't won one until who? Patrick Mahomes. This dude is different. He's always going to be a top quarterback in the league. He got everything in the tool bag. He got everything. So he got to be number 1. That's all, honestly. And that concludes my list of my top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL going into the 2020 season. I feel like all these guys have talent around them this season. I think all these guys have something to prove in some way. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, no, but the rest of these guys definitely got something to prove. Guys that I have on watch that can get higher in this list is probably a Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson. I definitely think that Prescott maybe. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy, I think all those guys can move up higher than where I rank them right now if they have a really good season. I think a lot of these guys have a lot of talent around them, but I think a lot of these guys have to prove one thing that they haven't proved, and that's, can you win in the playoffs? And those guys haven't proven they can do that. You know, the reason why Patrick Mahomes is so impressive is because he's already proven it in a short amount of time, probably shorter than the other guys. So definitely going to be on the lookout for them. Cam Newton is a guy that can be on this top 10 list. You know, I think Brady might be a guy that you got to watch. He could probably go lower on this list. So, but that's my list. You know what I mean? Everybody can have theirs, but that's all I got to say about mine. Y'all let me know if y'all agree or disagree in the comment section. That's all. Peace.